everyone, welcome back to the Creator Economy stage. Next on stage, we're going to be talking about music, which is a topic that was teed up quite nicely in the last session from Diri at Wingstop. So this topic is really about music meets marketing, and we've got Paul Sampson heading to the stage. He's CEO of Licked, and he's going to show us how mainstream music is a performance tool that brands just can't afford to ignore anymore. So, welcome to the stage, Paul.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. As Lydia just said, I'm Paul Sampson. I'm the CEO and founder of Licked. And I'll talk a little bit in more detail later on about what Licked is. But today we're going to talk about the impact that mainstream music can have on your content, whether you're a brand or an agency working for brands, and use information we've gathered over the years to help prove that case. Licked, where am I pointing this? Anything? No? There we go. So Licked is a music licensing platform. We started off with a platform for content creators, right? Everyone from Mr. Beast and the Sidemen, Air-Rat, Chris MD, down to my nephew, use Licked on a weekly basis to license the biggest songs in the world, legally and simply and safely, into their YouTube content. We realize now there's an issue for brands licensing music, and we've built a B2B version of it. But all the way along, and I'll talk about that platform later on, but all the way along, our mission has been to democratize music for the world's creators. Before I get into the data, just a show of hands, anyone here brand direct and works directly at a brand? Okay. And anyone at agency working on brands? Okay, interesting. I'm going to start with a quick anecdote. So I've been in sync licensing, they call it, synchronizing music to picture for 20 years now. I know, I don't look old enough. But I've done that in New York, in LA, in London. I worked on the biggest films, the biggest TV shows, the biggest commercials in the world. And I realized a little while ago that the music licensing process is broken. It's too long, it's too complicated for modern digital media. And I set out 9 years ago to build Licked, to build essentially Spotify for content creators. But before I got into music licensing, I was a TV researcher, TV producer. And when I was about 22 years old, I went on a shoot for a TV show with a director, and we shot the whole day, and the next day he was supposed to be in the editing what we'd shot. And overnight I got a call from the producer saying, the director's fallen sick. Tomorrow you are going to direct your first edit. And I was so excited. And I went back home to my parents' house, and I went into my bedroom, and I started plucking CDs off the shelf, right? I'm going to put that song against that scene. I'm going to put this song against that scene, and so on and so on. And the following morning, I walk into our company, I go into the edit suite like this, with 15 CDs in my arms, right, of mainstream music. And the editor, who I've never met, turns to me, looks at me like I'm an idiot. Says, "What have you got there?" And I said, "This is the music I'm going to put in the show." And he goes, "We have a music budget?" And I said to him, "No, you don't understand. This is my music. I've paid for that. I own this music." And he said, "Dude, you own the plastic. You don't own the rights." And right then my heart sank. And he pointed me to a wall, a stack of yellow spine CDs, all numbered and categorized by genre of stock music. And he said to me, "You can use anything you want from this crap, but what you can't use is that good music in your arms." And when I think back now to everything I've done in my career since, I've been trying to get over that trauma and make music licensing and democratizing music for the world's creators so that everyone in this room can create the content that you want, so that your audience can watch the content they deserve. Before I get into the data, I want to just play a little game with you. So I'm going to play you 3 songs from 3 TV commercials, and I would just like you to tell me, as early as you can, just raise your hand, if you can name the brand. We're going to have to do that again. Okay, shout out if you know the brand. Cadbury's Dairy Milk. Correct. There it is. Next one.
A simple thing, where have you gone?
Lewis, Somewhere Only We Know, Lily Allen's cover of it. Okay, last one. Hands up the moment you recognize it. Okay, not a single hand's gone up. Does the song feel familiar to you? Yeah, you can't place it, right? Anyone else? Does it sound familiar? Right, you can't place it because that is stock music. That song is one of the most licensed songs in stock music history. I personally placed it in at least 12 campaigns in the US and the UK, but in the last 10 years it's been placed in over 50 campaigns, be they for brands, be it on commercials, or for advertising TV promo. That's anecdotal evidence that we can see that mainstream music has an impact on brand recall, right? We all know it in this room, but what's going to follow now is, can we prove it? So we're going to ask, how does mainstream music, how does real music make such a difference to engagement, and why aren't brands and agencies able to use it more legally and effectively? So I mentioned that Licht has a platform that content creators use to license mainstream music. I can't tell you who this content creator is, but he's a household name, you'll all know him. He has just under 21 million subscribers. And what you're looking at here are 4 graphs where we analyzed his content prior to him becoming a Licht customer, when he was only using stock music, and then post becoming a Licht customer, when he was able to use mainstream music in his videos. So the top left graph, you'll see that there's 11 videos where he used mainstream music and 16 where he used stock. Mainstream's in blue. If you look at the top right graph, the average YouTube likes on a video, when he's used mainstream music, there is an enormous uplift in the likes on that video. What is it now? About 50% uplift? If you look at the bottom left on average YouTube views, there's at least a 30% uplift in the views. And bottom right, on average comments per video, you've got over a 20% uplift in the comments. So that's just an individual. We see that using mainstream music creates longer watch time, more likes, more shares, more comments, and that's an editorial content. So that's just one customer. If we look at an entire content vertical, so gaming and technology, we look at all the thousands of customers on Licht who are making content in this vertical, and we analyze thousands of videos. You can see top right, average YouTube views. There's a 141% uplift on the videos using mainstream music over stock music. You've got almost double the amount of likes on a video on average when they use mainstream music, and over double, 101% increase in comments on the videos using mainstream music across the entire gaming and technology vertical. But that's just our experience. TikTok will also tell you the same thing. So TikTok will tell you that 68% of TikTok users have better brand recall when a brand uses music they recognize, know, or love. That brands are 96% more likely to be remembered when using music aligned with their audience's identity. And 91% of top trending tracks on short-form social are already mainstream copyrighted tracks. So your audience, the people you're trying to engage, are already operating with mainstream music. And we need to be able to talk to them in the same language. But this isn't new. We've all been in shops that have mainstream music, right? They use that as a tool really effectively to stimulate us and make us purchase more and spend more time in the shop. Oaks Institute did a study in 2007 that's saying that recognizable music can elevate brand recall by 23%. So 65% of participants recognized the music, recalled the brand, as opposed to 42% when that brand used stock music. 30% more respondents said that they had an emotional connection to the brand that when it used mainstream music over content that used stock. 23% bought more when they recognized the music and engaged with the music. So, here's a problem, and I'll tell you a secret. I've been in the music industry 20 years, and the secret is it's a disgusting place. It's an awful industry, and it's really, really broken. Music rights are fragmented, difficult to uncover, and any one song can have as many as 15, 16 rights holders on. It's complex, right? And it's difficult to navigate, it's cumbersome to navigate, and it's time consuming. In fact, I looked for an image to try and display what I mean by that. What you're looking at here are, in every colored entity, box or circle, is an entity that you would need to contract with in order to legally use a song in content. When I searched for music rights workflow on YouTube, this image came up, and it was actually called the rat's nest of music licensing. So what we've done, well, on top of that, we all know that using music has led to lawsuits, right? Anyone familiar with these? There's over $1 billion in lawsuits in the space at the moment. The music industry is going hard over brands and agencies that are using music, mainstream music, without rights. And it's difficult. There's grey areas with influencer marketing and branded sponsored content. But I get why this might put people off or make people wary. So there's a disconnect between what you want to do and what you can't do. But if all that was fixed, brands would be able to move at the speed of culture and do so legally. And that's what we at Licked have been trying to build. So what is Licked? Well, Licked 1.0, as I mentioned, is for content creators. We have signed 14,000 labels and publishers. Trust me, that's no mean feat. They have delivered us 14 million songs, of which 1.5 million we've made available for content creators to license at their own convenience. It's legal, simple, safe, and affordable. I've done that bit. The world's biggest creators, so Mr. Beast, Airrack, Chris MD, The Sidemen, are using the world's biggest artists. On that platform, you've got The Weeknd, Sabrina Carpenter, Coldplay, Bruno Mars, Lizzo, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, and on and on. And now, it's all licensable at the click of a button. But that's no good for you, because you're not independent content creators. And so we've built Licked for Brands. And Licked for Brands is exactly the same as the first platform. It does all the work behind the scenes to connect all of those data points, all of the rights you need to license music, and make it simple. On this platform already, we have Amy Winehouse, Disclosure, Kali Uchis, Iron Maiden, Glass Animals, more. Thank you. And again, all of that work that you would have had to have done has been done behind the scenes so that you can license that music at the click of a button and be in touch with all the rights holders that you need to at the click of that button. We have so far signed 7 or 8 of the biggest rights holders in the world, and there are more joining every week. And so we have fixed that problem. So if you are able to license mainstream music in under 48 hours and turn that around, and you can do it legally, simply, and safely, and it's going to increase your engagement, your views, your sales, and your brand recall and emotional resonance, then it's a win for the brand, a win for the customer, a win for the agency, and a win for the artist. Brands can now fairly compensate artists and rights holders and use the music that your audience wants to hear without any problems. That means that creatives can use music as a creative multiplier as opposed to a last-minute add-on or having to cover over what was a great shoot with lower quality stock music. That we can think about music earlier in the brief because we can determine what songs are available to use. And we all know brands have visual guidelines. We should all have sonic guidelines that we can actually adhere to and deliver what our audiences want. So, if you're serious about attention, serious about brand resonance, and cultural credibility, you cannot afford to ignore real music. It's what your audiences want to hear. And now it is available to you and at scale. So if anyone's interested in hearing more about that, you can scan that code. It will take you to a register interest form, and we can talk at a later date. Alternatively, we're just outside the back of this hall. We're looking to meet with brands and agencies. Come and say hello, and we can have a chat. And together we can democratize music for the world's creators, including brands. That's it from me. Thank you very much.